To all dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Deshka Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 16. King Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord. Text 1. Sri Sukadev Goswami continued, when the conditioned soul, Jiva, in the form of Maharaj Chitraketu's son, had spoken in this way and then left, Chitraketu and the other relatives of the dead son were all astonished. Then they cut off the shackles of their affection, which was due to their relationship with him, and gave up their lamentation. Text 13. After the relatives has discharged their duties by performing the proper funeral ceremonies and burning the dead child body, they gave up the affection that leads to the illusion, lamentation, fear, and pain. Such affection is undoubtedly difficult to give up, but they gave it up very easily. Text 14. Queen Krita Duti's co-wives who had poisoned the child were very much ashamed, and they lost all their bodily luster while lamenting, O king. They remembered the instructions of Angira and gave up their ambition to bear child. Following the directions of the Brahmanas, they went to the bank of the Yamuna. Where they bathed and atoned of their sinful activities. Text 15. Thus enlightened by the instructions of the Brahmanas, Angira and Narada, King Chitraketu became fully aware of the spiritual knowledge. As an elephant becomes free from an muddy receiver of the water, King Chitraketu came out of the dark well of the family life. Text 16. The king bathed in the water of the Yamuna, and according to the prescribing duties, he offered the oblations of of water to the forefathers and the demigods, very gravely controlling his senses and mind. He then offered his respects and obeisances to the sons of the Lord Brahma, Angira, and Narada. Text 17. Thereafter, being very much pleased with Chitraketu, who was a self controller devotee and surrendered soul, Narada, the most powerful sage, spoke to him the following transcendental instructions. Text 18 and 19. Narada gave Chitraketu the following mantra. O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are addressed by the Omkara Pranava, I offered my respectable obeisances unto you. O Lord Vasudeva, I meditate upon you. O Lord Pradyumna, Lord Aniruddha, and Lord Sankarshna, I offered you my respectable obeisances. O receiver of the spiritual potency, O supreme bliss, I offered my respectable obeisances unto you, who are self sufficient and most peaceful. O ultimate truth, one without a second, you are realized as Brahmana, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and are therefore the receiver of all knowledge. I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. Text 20th. Perceiving your personal bliss, you are always transcendental to the waves of the material nature. Therefore, my Lord, I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. You are the supreme controller of the senses, and your expansion of forms are unlimited. You are the greatest, and therefore I offer my respectable obeisances unto you. Text 21. The words and minds of the conditioned soul cannot approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for material names and forms are not applicable to the Lord, who is entirely the spiritual, beyond the conception of gross and substantial form. The impersonal Brahmana is another of his form. Maybe he, by his pleasure, protects us. Text 22. Has pots made completely of earth are situated on earth after being created and are transformed into the earth again when broken. This cosmic manifestation is caused by the Supreme Brahmana, situated in the Supreme Brahmana and inhaliated in the same supreme Brahmana. Therefore, since the Supreme Lord is the cause of Brahmana, let us offer him our respectable obeisances. Text 23. The Supreme Brahma emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and expands like the sky. Although untouched by the anything material, it exists within and without. Nonetheless, the mind, intelligence, senses, and the living force can neither touch him nor know him. I offer unto him my respectable obeisances. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, SundarAnanda. Hare Krishna. So I'll offer brief praise and we can get started. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna everyone. So in one sense it's a simple section today, but another sense is profound in the understanding of Supreme Lord's nature and the Jiva, all of us living entities, how we are different in terms of quantity, though we are qualitatively one. So that is the aspect being shared today by Narada Muni. So the context was uh, King Chitraketu's son passed away, and that time he was in full lamentation along with his wives, and that time Angiramuni came back again along with Narada, and they revived the son. In the past session we heard how they revived the son, and son said, "Who is my father? Who is my mother? I've been going into different bodies regularly." So like that he gave a transcendental knowledge. And we heard how sometimes when we hear the transcendental knowledge from the child's mouth, it is very impactful. So in this case, the child who passed away already, when he came back alive and he shared the transcendental knowledge, it was fully impactful on them. So it directly went into the heart and it resulted in transformation in both Chitraketu and his wives also. So that is what we're going to see in this section. How did they respond? What happened after that? We'll be seeing here now. After the son came up and started giving transcendental knowledge. So we'll start to the text number 12. Uh, so after the son spoke the transcendental knowledge, what happened? Chitraketu and other wives and relatives, they were astonished, is described. That means they were in so much lamentation connected with the body only, but they're surprised to hear this transcendental knowledge. And but how it affected them? It affected them dis- to remove the material affection, to cut off the material affection. So that's what is described in this verse. And they gave up their lamentation also. So that is what we learn from here is transcendental knowledge. When we are situated in transcendental knowledge, we can actually not get affected so much by material miseries that are inevitable in this material world. So it's not that we will not get material miseries, because threefold miseries are given in this material world. Miseries related to body and mind, miseries related to other living entities, miseries due to natural disturbances are inevitable in the material world, that we know. But by having transcendental knowledge, it helps us not to go into too much lamentation or too much becoming proud like that. We'll be situated in a calm and peaceful manner. That doesn't mean somebody whose relative has passed away, they don't grieve. Grieving is a natural process for a living entity, for human beings also. That means we're meant to grieve actually. A healthy system or for a good emotional and mental health, it's important to grieve also. And it's natural to grieve because we are missing somebody who has been there for regularly with us, who we had association with. So it's natural to grieve also. But at the same time, due to association, missing of association, we might grieve. At the same time, if you are situated in transcendental knowledge, then we can also cope with it and come out sooner like that and situate in our duties regularly like that. So that's what we see here. The moment they heard the transcendental knowledge, they came out of the lamentation. So in fact, this is one of the main reason when somebody passes away in India, there's a common practice that Bhagavad Gita lectures are given. But at least the idea was that at least that way, if somebody did not hear the Bhagavad Gita knowledge until then, at least that way they'll revive their knowledge that, oh, this person who passed away is actually living soon in another body. So he's not gone now fully. Only the body is gone. That understanding will come. And that way, that will relieve them from lamentation, number one. Number two, that should give them as a stark reminder that what am I doing to maintain this body all along? All along, I'm doing this, that, this, that, this, that. So much time is wasted just for body only. I need to think about soul also. Where it will go next? How can I make sure it goes to a proper place so I can be always happy instead of again struggling in the next life like that? So that understanding also will come with transcendental knowledge. In fact, I was discussing yesterday, the Vedic process is so made that some people are ready to take up bhakti and they want to go to the permanent eternal spiritual world in service of Krishna, and that way they will always have permanent happiness and eternal happiness and ever growing happiness. That is the highest position can somebody can understand and practice spirituality. But not everybody is at that level. But Vedic process, depending upon the knowledge, depending upon the interest, uh, it provides facilities for somebody to practice at different levels. So we know the lowest level in Vedic literature is karma kanda practices. So that is telling, oh, if you do this yagna, then you'll get a lot of money. If you do this yagna, you'll get a good son. If you do this, you'll get this. So people who cannot think beyond this lifetime, people only think in terms of body, they are engaged in that way. So then there is a karma kanda level. But then after doing karma kanda, because while doing karma kanda, they're associating with brahmanas and they're getting purified through the association of brahmanas, and also they're getting enlightened with the knowledge of brahmanas. So slowly they start to understand, oh, I'm taking care of this life, but what happens next life? I don't want to be beggar again. I want to have a lot of money in next life. I want to enjoy a lot in the next life. So what can I do? So then they understand, if you do this in the next life, it will be better. If you do this next life, it will be better like that. But they're still thinking in terms of earthly planet. But at least they understood difference between soul and body. So that is the next level of evolution of consciousness. So Krishna is helping them, helping people to come to that also. And some further, while continuing like that, gradually, very slowly, they will realize, oh, actually better than earthly planets is Svargaloka, heavenly planets. There we can enjoy more, I heard. So that way I can enjoy a lot more. What can I do to go there? They will inquire. And then they will get their understanding and they will try to make attempts towards going there to heavenly planets. That's the next level of consciousness, evolution. So the more they get connected to following the Shastra's injections and association of Brahmanas, and especially if they get association of devotees, then they'll be open to the higher understanding of bhakti, which is to go back to spiritual world. Because heavenly planet also, if you go, then you need to come down after the punya karma is done, after the pious activities are done. So then we need to do bhakti like that, we'll understand. So by the mercy of devotees who are compassionate living beings, get an opportunity to serve first. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in relation to a commentary of a first canto, second chapter verses that the first thing is happens is normally we hear from Rupa Goswami. The first thing in evolution of a devotee first stages of devotee growth is Shraddha we hear normally, faith. But Vishwanath Chakravarti says even before Shraddha is Satam Krupa and Mahat Seva. Satam Krupa is mercy of a great soul, number one. With what kind of mercy they will give? They will give mercy so that we get interest in, so that we get engaged in some service to them. So that is the first starting point. So when great devotees are merciful, then they give some service for us. Then when we do that service, then we get some Shraddha, faith. Faith in what? Faith in Shastra, faith in hearing to sadhus and guru like that. Then, then we start to take it in. Until that time, even if we hear, it goes into the other ear like that. But only if you get the mercy of the devotees through the service they are engaging us in, then we get some Shraddha and we start hearing. Then starts uh, associating more with devotees. We feel like associating more with devotees, and then we start hearing Krishna Katha, and then we want to practice bhajana in terms of regular chanting like that. And the devotees even go through elevation from that stage also. When they get a Bhakti Lata Beej, that is the seed of devotion from a pure devotee. What is that seed of devotion? It's described in different ways. One of the ways it's described is we become a serious sadhaka. That means we want to do sadhana regularly, like that. So that's the next level of devotee elevation. And within the all the practicing devotees, the next stage we all need to aspire for is to practice devotion with sincerity, integrity, and seriousness, and some sense of urgency also. These are important for us to practice devotion service, because that way we're making use of the best resource we got, best understanding we got. So what is the use between somebody who has opportunity to get a good job and get a good money, but they reject it, and somebody who got opportunity to get a good job and get good money, they take it and they benefit from the money. Similarly, we all got opportunity to understand the highest understanding, what is the most beneficial, what is the ultimate good for all people, what is the essence of all scriptures. We got that understanding, which is to practice pure devotional service. When we got that understanding, we take it up, and we take it up sincerely. That doesn't mean that we need to do something like Haridas Thakur chanting all day. We do at our capacity, whatever we can do is do sincerely and consistently. We attempt to do consistently. So, and then while we are getting some obstacles or some difficulties in doing that, we consult devotees and we move forward like that. So, but we need to take it sincerely and seriously so we can realize the value of the process. Yeah, that is the main thing I wanted to share. One of the main thing for the first set of verses. So I'll just go through the storyline. So after King Chitraketu and all the queens got out of lamentation, what happened next? They they performed the funeral ceremonies, because until now they just in so much lamentation they didn't care about taking care of the body also, to give the next destination to the soul properly. So now they did the funeral ceremony by burning the dead child's body, and they gave up that material affection that led to illusion, lamentation, fear, and pain. So much pain, like that is described in the 13th verse. So, and another important point in this verse is described is normally when you are attached so much to our relatives and family members, it's very hard to give up that grief. But in this case, it became easy for them. Why? Because they are already situated in spiritual knowledge given by uh, through the dead child from Angira Muni and Narada. Going to text number 14, not only the king and the first wife were lamenting and got to the proper position, Actually, it's described, Vishnu Chakra Thakur describes the co-wives' uh, face and body became pale, it seems, because they're feeling guilty that they caused this activity because of enviousness. They caused this by giving poison to the child and kill them like that. So they also realized their mistake and they were feeling very ashamed, it's described. And um, and they remember the instructions given by Angira Muni, and they gave up the ambition to have child anymore. They don't have that, oh, I should also get a son, I should also get son. They left that. And they followed the direction of the Brahmanas, and they did the proper atonement for the sinful activities. In this purport, so basically they did the sin of killing the son, and they are atoning for it. In this purport, Sri Prabhupada emphasizes on two themes. First theme is that abortion of children is a sinful activity, like that Prabhupada emphasizes in this purport. So no matter what age the baby is there in the womb, is not it is not a pious activity to abort a child. It's a sinful activity. That's the main point Prabhupada is stressing. First main point. So that is the sinful activity that Queens did. Second theme Prabhupada focuses on is, for us in the Kali Yuga, for us practicing devotees of Bhakti Yoga, the best atonement we all can do is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, fixed number of rounds every day without fail. That is the best atonement we can do, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because this we heard even in the beginning of the sixth canto also. In the Ajamila episode also, we heard the point. So, however, Prabhupada also cautions us, just because we understand, now we got the best remedy for all sins. So let us do all the sins and let us chant. We should not go into that mode. Prabhupada is cautioning us. Instead, we should carefully avoid any kind of sinful activity that we can consciously avoid from our perspective. Of course, unconsciously, some things can happen, but consciously, we should avoid to the best of our efforts to not be sinful. So, of course, our primary operating principle as devotee is devotion principle, which is to please Krishna. That is the primary operating principle. Not is it sin, is it not sin? That is not the primary operating principle. But to please Krishna, we also not do the sin. In that context, we need to take it. Everything in respect to the pleasing of Krishna. So otherwise, somebody may be so much engrossed in avoiding sin, avoiding sin, but they might forget to do bhakti, positive bhakti also. So that is not encouraged. So we should be cautious. At the same time, we should not be frozen not to do anything in bhakti. We should continue any kind of warnings we hear are meant to be a warning, not to give a no-go signal or stop signal. So we're meant to positively practice bhakti while being cautious of the warnings that are given by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. In this case, we should not try to engage in more and more sinful activity while we have taken up the practice of bhakti, starting with chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada writes, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the best method for us to grow in bhakti by leaps and bounds. Now going to text number 15, by this enlightenment from the instructions of Narada Muni and Angira, Chitraketu became fully aware of spiritual knowledge is described in this verse. And then, as the elephant takes bath in the mud water, King Chitraketu came out of the dark well of family life is described. So, dark well of Gruhanda Kupa is described. Prahlad Maharaj in the seventh canto also uses this terminology, Gruhamanda Kupam, like that. So basically, what is the dark well of family life he got out from? That means he thought, my life is to be best husband, best father, and take care of family nicely. That's all is a life goal. That is a misunderstanding of being in the dark well of family life. Our ultimate goal of life is to make our life perfect by realizing our relationship with Krishna and by awakening our love for Krishna. That is our ultimate goal in life. And our supporting that goal is whatever Krishna has given us, our intelligence, our abilities, our resources, we utilize in such a way that we help our family members and relatives or others in society so they can also progress towards that goal, which is to understand their relationship with Krishna and to awaken their love for Krishna. So that's also part of our goal. Why? Because our goal of awakening for relationship with Krishna is enabled by our giving mercy to others. When we help others, not only they are benefiting for our great activity, we are benefiting also. Prabhupada used to say, they will benefit, you will benefit also, like that. So by just sharing Krishna consciousness with others, we get a constant reminders that, oh, I need to practice well nicely first. Like that we get. And more importantly, when we see some devotees take up Krishna consciousness, we'll be really inspired with full rigor. Why? Because some of the living entities, some of the people who take up Krishna consciousness, they take up Krishna consciousness with so much sincerity, so much enthusiasm that we get enthusiasm by seeing them. We may not have so much enthusiasm, we may not have so much intensity, but when we see them, we get inspired actually. Some people may think we'll get inspired only from senior devotees. Actually, we get inspiration from junior devotees also. So, it is not only beneficial for them, it's beneficial for us also. And it's pleasing to Krishna. So, it's all in a good package. That's why Srila Prabhupada engaged all of us in doing good sadhana and doing some consistent, regular seva, always, somehow or other. So that way, that will help us to grow in bhakti sincerely. So that's about text 15. Going to text 16, continuing the storyline, the king bathed in the Yamuna river, it is described, and he offered the oblations to the forefathers with water of the Yamuna, and he controlled his senses and mind, and he offered his respectful obeisances to Narada Muni and Angira. What is this point about controlling his senses and mind before offering two obeisances is being described? Until now, he was fully in grief. So he was not in control of senses. Oh my God, he was fully in grief now. But after being enlightened by transcendental knowledge, he was able to control his senses and mind. Similarly, uh, Krishna in the, I believe, chapter 3, end of the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, also describes how we can control senses and mind by talking about how we can control the lust, which is by spiritualizing our intelligence. How do you spiritualize our intelligence? Through hearing the Shastra, reading the Shastra, hearing from Guru and Sadhu. Through that, we can spiritualize the intelligence. That's how we can control the senses and mind. So, other places Prabhupada describes, quoting Rupa Goswami, that when we engage in the service of Krishna through the senses and mind, then we can easily control them. That is the best way of controlling the senses and mind by engaging in the service of Krishna. So, going to the next verse, text 17. So, it's described uh, Narada Muni was very much pleased with Chitraketu, it seems, by and the adjective given for Chitraketu is a self-controlled devotee. So, when somebody is self-controlled, then the spiritual master or the uh, any kind of Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, they're happy to give support, encouragement, and knowledge to them to go to the next step. So he, so Narada Muni, being happy to see his Chitraketu as self-control, he started giving instructions. So for us, the self-control aspect, how we apply is that not only we control our senses and mind, but we apply what we receive in our life nicely. When we apply what we receive in nicely, then we can look forward for the next instructions and next level of growth in our devotion service. That's how we need to look at always growing in devotion service. With the satisfaction of whatever we're doing, we still accept what we're doing, but we look to the next step. And next step is only possible with the mercy of pure devotees, our guru, like that. So that is the idea. So when we're applying what we got and we're ready to apply what we get, then we're ready for next level of instructions from our guru, like that. So going to the next theme. So far section was storyline, how they got out of the grief, how they prepared themselves to hear from Nardamani and Angiramani. That's what we heard so far. Now the next theme, briefly, is Nardamani. This section goes on till tomorrow also. It's an important section also. It's giving transcendental knowledge in terms of Supreme Lord and these different aspects of Supreme Lord as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan features of Supreme Lord. And how Supreme Lord is different from we Jivas also, it is explaining this section. That's also important because some people think by misunderstanding that I forgot that I am Krishna. Actually, I am also Krishna, some people think, unfortunately. So, this knowledge helps us to understand the greatness of Krishna, understand the different aspects of Krishna also. That is what is the next section coming up. So, we'll go to these verses. So, in these verses, first of all, Narmani offers obeisances to the Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshana. For them, he offers obeisances with a mantra. And then he starts to describe the differences between Supreme Lord and Jiva. And then he describes the Supreme Lord's different features in the next class tomorrow. So, what are the differences he describes between Supreme Lord and Jiva? Jiva means all of us living entities. First of all, he says their Supreme Lord's form is full of knowledge, whereas our form or our covering that we have is a gross material body that is full of ignorance. Why? Because that is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. That is material elements. That is why the body is made of ignorance, is described. So, whereas we as spirit souls are beyond ignorance. So, now another aspect he describes is Supreme Lord is full of transcendental bliss, whereas our form is made of five material elements. So, basically, Satchidananda features of the Supreme Lord. Ananda feature is describing here. Supreme Lord's body and soul, there is no difference. Whereas for us, we are a spirit soul, but we are having this material body currently. And then Supreme Lord is self-sufficient and most peaceful. Atmarama and Santa. His both characteristics are there for Supreme Lord. Whereas we also can be satisfied and peaceful if we are looking at Krishna, if we are engaged in service of Krishna and we are pursuing the ultimate goal of relationship with Krishna, then we can also be peaceful. But normally, most of the time, we're focused on, instead of Krishna, we're focused on sense gratification. How can I bring happiness to the senses currently, like that? When we're focused on sense gratification, it's very hard to be peaceful. We'll be full of anxiety. Anxiety in terms of how to get sense gratification. And once you get sense gratification, how to keep it going for a long time. And then after it disappears after some time, then oh my God, I lost my sense gratification, like that. So we'll be in anxiety something. But if you're focused on Krishna, we can be peaceful and at the same time satisfied also in the heart. So next aspect he describes is Krishna is not attached to the material world. So whereas we are attached to the material world if we are in bodily conception of life. And that's why we practice spiritual conception of life and practicing devotional service to awaken our relationship with Krishna. So yeah. So here, Supreme Lord's body, none of the part has a specific function because we know from Brahma Samhita prayers also, Krishna can do anything with any part of the body, like that. Whereas we can do what we can do with hands, that only. We cannot hold things with hands. We can see things with eyes, like that. Whereas Supreme Lord can do anything with hands. With the eyes, for example, he eats the boga we are offering. That's how he is giving the remnants for us, for example, like that. And then he describes Supreme Lord perceives personal bliss, Atmananda, and always transcendental to waves of material nature. That is, he is not touched by material modes. He is not controlled by material modes. He is beyond the material modes and is transcendental to them. Whereas, uh, if we are in material conception, bodily conception, we are always um, affected by waves of attraction and hatred. So that's what is described here. Another aspect is Supreme Lord is a controller of the senses. So, whereas if we are not situated in spiritual knowledge at the soul level, then we are naturally driven by senses. Senses are controlling us. Oh, we need to eat that, let's go there. We need to see that, let's go there. Like that. But if soul is in control, soul can direct. Uh, I eat only prasadam. I see only something favorable to Krishna consciousness. Like that. Another aspect described is Supreme Lord has unlimited expansions. Unlimited is a real word. So unlimited expansions. So Ananta is the word, is Ananta Murtaye. So Ananta means unlimited. Supreme Lord's forms are unlimited. Is described that Supreme Lord has so many incarnations that there are as like waves in the ocean like that. Whereas we come in one form. Interestingly, in the purport Prabhupada describes are limited forms also. We discussed briefly some of the living entities have the capacity have expanding themselves into few different forms also, but not at our level. But some of the living entities are given that capacity. For example, Prabhupada used to say that Arjuna can be with Krishna in this material world and another world also at the same time, like that he used to describe. So, but only limited. We cannot be like Krishna, 16,108 forms, we cannot expand like that. Probably six forms is what I remember. Seven forms is what I remember in Bhagavatam, one of the purport Prabhupada talks about. So, like that, we are limited, not like Supreme Lord like that. And the last couple of verses is describing how Supreme Lord has three features: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In the impersonal Brahman feature, he lacks the, he cannot be approached by words and mind, and he's entirely spiritual with without material names or forms, because people describe this. Prabhupada commonly gives us the understanding when Supreme Lord is described in terms of Brahman feature, is described as without form and without name, but that is referring to without having material form and material name. Supreme Lord does have spiritual form, and Supreme Lord can be glorified with several names like that, glorifying his pastimes. So like that, this is describing. And then he's praying, may he protect us, like that is praying, Narada Muni. So the next verse, 22nd verse, he is the cause of the universe. Because only from Supreme Lord, all the material world, all the universes came. So but sometimes he comes as an incarnation to this world also. But at the end of the creation, when a dissolution happens, it goes back, everything goes back to the Supreme Lords. So, example given in this analogy given in this verse is how earth or with soil, we can make pots. By potter can make pots with earth, right? Similarly, Supreme Lord is the power behind everything that we have here. That is the point being made here. So, in that way, he is the cause of the entire universe, like that is elaborated here. So, we can pause here. Essentially, we heard how we need to be sincere and serious in practicing our devotion service, understanding that we got this great opportunity of devotion service to practice in this life, and we need to take the association of Guru Sadhu Shastra to grow to the next step by sincerely applying their instructions. And then we heard about how Supreme Lord is unlimitedly great, whereas we are insignificantly small. At the same time, we are spiritually, qualitatively one with Supreme Lord in terms of the nature. But quantitatively, Supreme Lord is unlimited. Those are the essential things we discussed today. We'll pause here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kupasindubheva cha Paditanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.